Can it be because it means the people? Yeah, it can.
Amendment 10. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people.
Powers reserved to the people in the Bill of Rights. How the mighty and the proud have fallen. Why, King John, who threw a fit when barons made him sign the Magna Carta. Barons, mind you, were heedless of the common people. John, the tough old monarch. Well, he would have died 1,000 deaths of apoplexy at the mention of the thought of it. The pharaohs of old Egypt, masters of the blackest arts of slavery. They would have crawled inside a pyramid and shut 147 secret doors behind them in a panic.
A promise is a promise. Has America's been kept? Has it come through peace and war untarnished and unbroken? Has it worked, and is it working? For the people and by the people? Is it going anywhere from here? Are the rights the right rights? Are they rolling? Do they function? Do they click? Well, who knows the answer better than the people? Who better can we ask than ask the great custodians themselves, the 100 million keepers of the promise? And we shall ask them. Ask a few of them who stand for many more than few, the high and the low among them. Ladies and gentlemen, an office clerk.
Well, we know what freedom is now. Looked for a while there like a lot of us had forgot what it really meant and how much we had of it. But the news that kept piling in from the four corners of the earth, that reminded us all right.
Ladies and gentlemen, an editor.
There have been attacks on the freedom of the press and strangleholds of various sorts, but they've been broken every time. And today a man is free to start a paper, run it as he pleases, differ from the next man, all he wants. That would make it seem to me, for one, that our rights have come down undamaged.
Ladies and gentlemen, a worshiper.
I go to the church of my choice. When I don't wish to go, I don't go.
Ladies and gentlemen, an auto worker.
We got the right to organize. We got the right to bargain collectively. Those are good rights, and we're proud of them. We're better workers on account of them.
Ladies and gentlemen, a manufacturer.
There is nothing in any law which forbids us to forget class differences and work together to strengthen the sinews of our country.
Ladies and gentlemen, an Okie.
I got a right if I'm hungry and out of work, which I has been, to go looking for work anywhere in my country. The big court says nobody can't stop me from looking. Dang it, that's my right.
Ladies and gentlemen, a mother.
I might be afraid to bring a child into the world, but not to bring a citizen into the population of the United States.
Yes. And from men beneath the rocking spars of fishing boats in Gloucester, from the vast tenancy of busy cities, roaring with the million mingled sounds of work, from towns spread thinly through the Appalachians, from the assembly lines, the forges spitting flame, the night shifts in the mines, the great flat counties of the prairie states, from the grocers, from the salesmen, from the tugboat pilots and the motor makers, affirmation, yes, united proudly in a solemn day, knit more strongly than we were 150 years ago this day. Can it be progress if our Bill of Rights is stronger now than when it was conceived? Is that not what you would call wearing well? The incubation of invincibility? Is not our Bill of Rights more cherished now than ever? The blood more zealous to preserve it whole? Americans shall answer, for they alone, they know the answer. The people of America, from the east, from west, from north, from south. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the people of the United States.
Free Americans. No date in the long history of freedom means more to liberty-loving men in all liberty-loving countries than the 15th day of December, 1791. On that day, 150 years ago, a new nation, through an elected Congress, adopted a Declaration of Human Rights which has influenced the thinking of all mankind from one end of the world to the other. There is not a single republic of this hemisphere which has not adopted in its fundamental law basic principles of freedom of man and freedom of mind enacted in the American Bill of Rights. There is not a country, large or small, on this continent and in this world which has not felt the influence of that document, directly or indirectly. Indeed, prior to the year 1933, the essential validity of the American Bill of Rights was accepted everywhere, at least in principle. Even today, with the exception of Germany, Italy, and Japan, the peoples of the whole world, in all probability 4/5 of them, support its principles, its teachings, and its glorious results. But in the year 1933, there came to power in Germany a political clique which did not accept the declarations of the American Bill of Human Rights as valid. A small clique of ambitious and unscrupulous politicians whose announced and admitted platform was precisely the destruction of the rights that instrument declared. Indeed, the entire program and goal of these political and moral tigers was nothing more than the overthrow throughout the earth of the great revolution of human liberty, of which our American Bill of Rights is the mother charter. The truths which were self-evident to Thomas Jefferson, which have been self-evident to the 6 generations of Americans who followed him, were to these men hateful. The rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which seemed to the founders of the Republic, and which seemed to us inalienable, were to Hitler and his fellows empty words, which they proposed to cancel forever. The propositions they advanced to take the place of Jefferson's inalienable rights were these: that the individual human being has no rights whatever in himself and by virtue of his humanity, that the individual human being has no right to a soul of his own, or a mind of his own, or a tongue of his own, or a trade of his own, or even to live where he pleases, or to marry the woman he loves. That his only duty is the duty of obedience, not to his God, not to his conscience, but to Adolf Hitler, and that his only value is his value not as a man, but as a unit of the Nazi state. To Hitler, the ideal of the people as we conceive it, the free, self-governing, and responsible people, is incomprehensible. The people to Hitler are the masses, and the highest human idealism is, in his own words, that a man should wish to become a dust particle of the order of force which is to shape his universe. To Hitler, the government as we conceive it is an impossible conception. The government to him is not the servant and the instrument of the people, but their absolute master and the dictator of their very act. To Hitler, the church as we conceive it is a monstrosity to be destroyed by every means at his command. The Nazi church is to be the national church, a pagan church, absolutely and exclusively in the service of but one doctrine, one race, one nation. To Hitler, the freedom of men to think as they please, and speak as they please, and worship as they please, is of all things imaginable most hateful and most desperately to be feared. The issue of our time, the issue of the war in which we are engaged, is the issue forced upon the decent, self-respecting peoples of the earth by the aggressive dogmas of this attempted revival of barbarism, this proposed return to tyranny, this effort to impose again upon the peoples of the world doctrines of absolute obedience, of dictatorial rule, of the suppression of truth, of the oppression of conscience, which the free nations of the earth have long ago rejected. What we face is nothing more nor less than an attempt to overthrow and to cancel out the great upsurge of human liberty, of which the American Bill of Rights is the fundamental document, to force the peoples of the earth, and among them the peoples of this continent and this nation, to accept again the absolute authority and despotic rule from which the courage and the resolution and the sacrifices of their ancestors liberated them many, many years ago. It is an attempt which could succeed only if those who have inherited the gift of liberty had lost the manhood to preserve it. But we Americans know that the determination of this generation of our people, our generation to preserve liberty, is as fixed and certain as the determination of that earlier generation of Americans was to win it. We will not, under any threat or in the face of any danger, surrender the guarantees of liberty our forefathers framed for us in our Bill of Rights. We hold with all the passion of our hearts and minds to those commitments of the human spirit. We are solemnly determined that no power or combination of powers of this earth shall shake our hold upon them. We covenant with each other before all the world that having taken up arms in the defense of liberty, we will not lay them down before liberty is once again secure in the world we live in. For that security we pray. For that security we act, now and evermore.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've just heard the President of the United States speaking from the White House in Washington, D.C. Our national anthem.
You have been listening to We Hold These Truths, a special program commemorating the 150th anniversary of the ratification of the Bill of Rights and